All right, in three, two, one, testing, testing, nothing but the nuts, testing, all by myself today, testing, all by myself. All by myself. I don't wanna be all by myself. At least I got you guys, right?
Hey, welcome back to Anime Casuals. I'm Lucky.
Here I go! This hand of mine is burning red!
And I'm Michael. Realize the only ones who should kill are those who are prepared to be killed.
Johnny. Your darkness swallowed up my son? Who decided that?
Erupting! Burning!
Now all of you.
Die.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome back to Anime Casuals. I am Lucky. It looks like it's just you and me today, guys. So today I did want to talk about a couple of things in particular. So for a lot of people out there, we have friends that maybe don't watch anime or just really can't get into anime. So I thought today I would give you a couple of like beginner anime. And by the way, that's not a slight against the anime that I'm talking about right now, but it is something that it doesn't have all the crazy tropes in it, all the crazy like incest stuff, um, all the things that might get somebody turned off to anime. You really want to like ease them in. You don't want to go 0 to 100 real quick, right? You want to give them something to kind of look at and be like, "Oh, I'm familiar with this." Also, another thing that I took into account is that a lot of people tend to like English dubbed more than subbed, especially in the beginning when they're not used to activating their Sharingan and reading all the subtitles before looking up again. So all of these have a pretty solid English dub that I've watched. So anyway, without further ado, I thought I would just do different categories instead of just getting all romance ones. There's probably going to be some categories I left out, but this is a little last minute. As you can tell, there's not anybody else here with me, so we had to kind of improvise a little bit and kind of go with this. But anyway, without further ado, let's start off with number one. This was a very easy one for me, but when we're talking about anime, one of the first things that people I kind of want to introduce them to is this idea of moral gray areas. Maybe sometimes the right thing doesn't seem like or maybe sometimes the right thing is maybe the wrong thing to do in that situation. Maybe the right thing isn't always clear. And one anime that I think does a pretty good job of that without overdoing it or throwing a lot of moral decisions in your face at the same time is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Obviously, the first Full Metal Alchemist was okay, but it went little off the rails because it wasn't following the manga towards the end. But Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood was excellent when it did this kind of stuff. Everything from is it right to bring back human beings from the dead? What is equivalent? The idea of equivalent exchange, right? Alchemy is the art, or well, is the it says it's science, but it's magic. Let's just be honest with ourselves. But the idea of equivalent exchange is thrown throughout this series, and it's actually an interesting one because you start to wonder, well, what is equivalent, right? What is this idea of equivalency? And as the series kind of goes on, you start to ask yourself some real moral questions, right? Are these people right? Are these people wrong? I don't want to get into too many spoilers, but also if you haven't watched already and you consider yourself an anime expert or something like that, you should probably be called an anime casual, just like us. But we actually have all watched it here. Also, the good thing about this anime in particular is it's on almost any other. It's pretty much on any platform and also in English dub. So I believe you can still find it on Netflix. If not, maybe you guys can correct me. But I believe it's on Netflix, Verve, Funimation. You can pretty much find it anywhere, and the dub is fantastic. I know Vic Mignogna's had his troubles in more recent years. I'm not going to get into that, but still a fantastic voice actor, and everybody else did a fantastic job as well. Also, mixed in with some of those moral choices and those moral gray areas is fantastic. action scenes. It's very well animated. Also, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is fairly new-ish. I don't remember exactly when it came out. I want to say it was like late 2000s. But either way, it's got enough of the new flair that it doesn't look like one of the old early 2000s anime, which is what the original Full Metal Alchemist looked like, where it was the tiny little screen, and now everybody's got the wide screens going on. So yeah, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I don't know if I would recommend this. Like, I think that's maybe in order I should have put this list in. I don't think Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood should be the first one that you introduce them to, because it does have it's up to about like 50 something episodes, so you want to be careful with overloading them, because the minute they get off an anime, it's going to be kind of tough, especially when it's as story driven as Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, for them to get back on. But this is definitely within the first maybe 3 or 4. Like once they start, like you start easing them in a little bit. But either way, it definitely does have a lot of good references. The names are easy to remember. They're actually all pretty much English names. Edward Elric, Alphonse Elric, Roy Mustang, Riza Hawkeye. Like they're pretty easy to remember. Whereas sometimes if you give somebody too many Japanese names, they can't really differentiate them. That might sound racist, but if you're thinking that, then you're fucking stupid. Anyway, let's go to the let's go to the next post. Next post. Sorry, I'm thinking about my subreddit. Thing that I do on my other podcast. But by the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, you should definitely check out the Anime Casuals podcast. I post there 4 days a week by myself, and then 2 days with Michael, which is the weekend talk and the casual discussion. But anyway, so in terms of romance, I am the romance guy on this fine YouTube channel and podcast channel. So I wanted to. There were a couple different anime kind of going in my mind, but I had to kind of put aside all of my romance expertise. So when I'm looking at romance, I'm looking for some hardcore stuff. Like I'm looking for stuff that I haven't seen before, because I've seen a lot of the typical romance anime tropes. So I was thinking about Kimi ni Todoke. It is a little bit long. It's very good though. If that's definitely something that you want to get somebody into, it's definitely a good one. But it's a little long. It's a little long for a romance anime, and it does have the trope of these kids just not getting the hint, which happens a lot in anime. So I think it would probably be better to start them off with something like Horimiya. Horimiya is a pretty recent anime. I believe it came out actually in 2021, and it is on Funimation. It has a great dubbed. I actually stopped. So I started watching the dubbed first, and then I watched the sub later because the dubbed episodes weren't caught up with the subs. I believe all the dubs should be caught up by now. There's only 13 episodes, ever. I don't know. I don't think they're going to continue. It seemed like they kind of ended off at that point. But yeah, Horimiya is a fantastic anime, and it shows, it also has some underlying themes of self-acceptance. Despite the fact that everybody sees you this way, for you to accept yourself for who you truly are, and finding somebody who loves you, who can accept those your flaws and all. So yeah, it's a great story. It's a little bit more modern, so maybe somebody that's trying to get into anime, maybe they've seen a lot of these tropes in some more Western media as well. But it doesn't go too tropey with anything. And it also goes into some how do you say it? It definitely goes into some funny parts as well. Some they talk about kinks at some point. It's not an overly sexual anime, but definitely something to keep track of if you're trying to show this to a younger kid. And then I also wanted to include another one in here because it's something that I watched a long time ago. But I watched it. I rewatched a little bit of it in the English dub, and the English dub is great too. It's called Suki Gakurei, and it is on Verve and Funimation. Both, I think they both have the English dub. I'm not completely sure about that. I know Funimation for sure has the English dub, but Suki Gakurei is another really short one. It's about 12 episodes, if I'm not mistaken, and it is a very typical love story. But it's one of those love stories that just makes you feel good about what's happening. It makes you want to root for the characters, and it's something very simple that it doesn't overwhelm the. It wouldn't overwhelm a newcomer. The other thing about it is that it does bring in this interesting art style that maybe if they're so used to seeing anime a certain way, these anime characters don't have like the super huge eyes, the glistening. They have like some pretty typical anime looks to them, but at the same time, overall, it is It's a very good time. I really had fun with it, and it's something that you can. It's something that you can just kind of get into, if you need to, like set aside like 3 hours and just watch it all. And it's not one of those animes that makes your heart hurt after, which I'm trying not to spoil as much as I can. Sorry if that did spoil anything for you. Um, but overall has a very satisfying ending to it, and it's not something that would tear somebody up inside, because you want to we're talking about beginning anime or beginners anime, so we want to ease them into this kind of stuff. We can't just do this thing where it's like, oh dude, you gotta watch this crazy, you gotta go watch Baki, on your first try, and maybe you're not even used to that kind of level of gore. Whereas if you've watched anime as long as I have, you've definitely seen your fair amount of gore, your fair amount of fan service, your fair amount of brother sister love. Like there's all kinds of tropes that you've seen that you're kind of numb to, I guess is a good way to put it. But at the same time, there are, but you have to also think about when you first started watching anime, right? I was very young. Some of these people that you're trying to introduce anime to are a little bit later in years, so they're already set in their ways. So you want to ease them into this kind of stuff. So I already talked about Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, Suki Gakurei, Horimiya for the Suki Gakurei and Horimiya for the romance, and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood for the more moral, the moral gray areas. The thinking man's anime, so to speak, but also with enough of a with enough action scenes to kind of keep you occupied, and a really good plot. Um, One thing that we you definitely should ease them into, because they're going to see a lot of it, is isekais. I'm going to put my favorite one on here, but I feel that it is good, and and I'm going to put another mention in here. Actually, maybe let me do the mention first. So Mushoku Tensei is something that we've covered on the channel for a little while. From the weekend talk, and also I do want to preface this. So maybe if you thought about the moral gray area anime, you're thinking, oh, maybe what about Death Note, right? I haven't really seen Death Note to completion. It's not exactly my kind of anime, but but whatever you think might hook people, that's totally fine. Also, Death Note does have a fantastic English dub, but I haven't seen it to completion, so I didn't think it would be fair to put it on this list. So anyway, going back to Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation, or Jobless Incarnation, or Jobless Reincarnation, whatever. It is on Funimation. It's a Funimation exclusive. That being said, the English dub is fantastic, although it is not caught up in the second season, so beware of that. But the anime itself has a lot of the tropes, but excuse me, overall does a very good job of world building. We talked about this in the weekend talks, that it does a pretty good job to the point where you can kind of chart your way through through the anime. You can kind of tell roughly how far away people are just based off the anime, because it does such a great job of mapping things out. The characters are great, and it's a pretty simple introduction into the isekai genre. Whereas if you're trying to get somebody into something like Overlord, or the Isekai Quartet, so Ray Zero, Tanya Saga of Evil, Konosuba, Konosuba not exactly, but the Konosuba, the problem with that is the humor is very hit or miss for people. It's a hit for me, but I've seen a lot of people on the anime subreddit that have that it's a total miss for them. They just don't get it. Which is absolutely fine. You're just trash. No big deal. Ray Zero is very intense, and it's not exactly I wouldn't say it's a beginner's anime. Now, if somebody was really into that kind of hopeless feeling, I suppose I'm trying not, like I said, I'm not trying not to spoil this stuff. Um, but they like the sense of dread and the twists and turns of Ray Zero, then absolutely. And I won't go into the other ones right now. But anyway, yeah, Mushoku Tensei I think just does a great job um, of being the everyman's anime, right? It's something that you can kind of relate to, and it's also one of the only anime that really, one of the only isekais that really has a firm foundation in the original world where Rudy, the main character, is from. So instead of just throwing that original world away, we're seeing how that world and this world, how this person who got reincarnated from this world into this new world is struggling between these two identities, putting away, accepting what he's done in his past and putting that behind him and becoming this new version of himself. Is a difficult journey, and it's something that's relatable. I think that's another thing that you have to think about in the grand scheme of things when you're trying to show somebody that is beginning in anime. You have to think about, is this going to relate to them? Because if it doesn't, they could become unimmersed, right? Whereas if I've watched a lot of anime where I don't relate with anything that the character is doing, but I kind of throw that aside and then I think about it as an overall human experience, and then I'm able to. But for a lot of people, it's unless it's very obvious what those similarities are, then they're not going to want to invest time into it. So Mushoku Tensei, but the one I actually wanted to bring up was Rising of the Shield Hero. I think this was a great anime. It's my favorite isekai of all time. Um, has a lot of now. I will say this. This is the reason why I kind of have a caveat on it. The first episode or two is a little intense. Yeah, the first episode is a little intense. There is. I can't really get into it without spoiling it, but if you guys have watched it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And just like another anime called Goblin Slayer, the first episode can make or break something. So if you're not digging, if you watch that first episode and you get too emotionally detached and you start looking at it in a different way, it can end up hurting a little bit. Your chances of continuing it, or you could end up wanting to see this to completion because you're so pissed off at what happened that you end up wanting to uh, see where this goes. You end up wanting to see that this particular character get what's coming to him. So you can have two very different reactions, but I just think Rising of the Shield Hero is just so worth it, and it's such an incredible introduction for somebody to. Sorry, it's such an incredible way to introduce somebody to isekais that it can. I feel like it will make them go into start to go into the other isekais. And even though the first episode's a little intense, I don't think that the rest of it is too difficult to understand. It's not really too. There's not some convoluted plot. It starts to get a little bit there towards the end of the first season, but and this would be a good time to get them into it because the 2022 second season. Sorry, the second season is coming out in 2022, so there is that to look forward to as well. So we got the isekais out of the way. I think I only got one. Oh no, I got two more things. Let's do the sad anime. So when we talk about, and maybe you could put this into dramatic, but I think that Your Lie in April is a fantastic way to get somebody into the tearjerker anime. Let's just say that. So the reason why I chose Your Lie in April is because it fills a couple of different boxes, so I don't have to go off into other ones. Although maybe I will, but it goes into music, and it also goes into heartfelt stories of loss, stories of struggles. And it does a very good job of it. It's also available on most streaming services, Netflix being one of them. And Netflix, I feel like, is going to be where a lot of these people end up, the normies, so to speak, end up consuming a lot of their anime. Whereas us who watch, we who watch anime elsewhere, are not really going to Netflix for a whole lot of anime, right? We come back for Beastars, we come back for Baki, we come back for like certain ones, but ultimately we're kind of getting a lot of our anime somewhere else, right? But Your Lie in April is very accessible. It's got a great English dub from what I can remember. I didn't watch a whole lot of it in English dub, but from what I can remember, it was pretty good. It has a great plot to it, and it can be a little weird if you're not a musician to a certain degree because maybe you don't understand that feeling, the certain feelings. But I think if you go past that and think of it as a human experience, like we were kind of saying before, and you can see the struggle that comes from losing out on your passions, all that kind of stuff. The underlying themes, I think, are just so good that it transcends music. But then again, I could be overlooking some things. Maybe some people won't be super into the music aspect of it, but it's just so good on all levels. And it was just one of those animes that really made me. I just remember at the very end of it just crying and looking around and being like, "Who's home? Nobody's home. Nobody's home." And then I just start crying, unpausing it and stuff. There's a lot of great things to say about Your Lie in April, but I don't want to say them without. I can't really say them without spoiling anything. So yeah, overall, Your Lie in April is a great one to get them into a tearjerker kind of mood, and it also fills in a couple of boxes like like the idea of music, and it's not, it's pretty based in reality, so it's not super far out there when you're talking about an anime. Sometimes people end up watching an anime and it's so weird that they're just like, dude, fucking anime, right? Like it happens a lot of times where people just look at anime and they're like, oh my god, this is way too much weeb shit in my anime, man. Calm down. So, yeah, I think Your Line April has enough things grounded in reality that people can end up, getting. They don't end up getting hurt by it. And then another thing also is the opener and ending. I don't actually know about the first ending. The second ending, Orenji, is so freaking good, so good. And then the first opening by Goose House, I think that's her name, is also very good. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but anyway, overall, and then going back to the opening and ending thing, right? You want to get them kind of into that OP, because sometimes when people watch anime, like I don't know if you've ever seen like SpongeBob in anime or something like that, and they end up using a what was it, an OP from an anime, and they end up animating SpongeBob like an anime. Um, the thing is, they actually did it very well, and it can, anime OPs can be a little tropey, so that these anime OPs are somewhat tropey, but they're also very heartfelt, and they have a lot to do with the anime itself. So, definitely, Your Lie in April is a really good one. I'm trying to think of some other ones off the top of my head, but I was gonna say like Fruits Basket in terms of the romance and the tearjerker one. Problem is, it's a really long anime, and it is a little bit tough to get into if you're not used to anime. So, I think because of my anime background, it helped me. But maybe you guys can correct me on that. Maybe you got into it and you were fine with it. That's totally cool. I'm not completely sure. So, and then the last anime that I definitely wanted to mention. So, in terms of epic anime, so epic anime are the anime that are hundreds of episode long. So something that's over 100 episodes is basically my idea of an epic anime. Now, there are a lot that you can choose from. Dragon Ball Z. The problem is, if you haven't watched Dragon Ball, not saying that you can't enjoy Dragon Ball Z, because I definitely did, but Dragon Ball definitely gave a lot of context to Dragon Ball Z. Also, Dragon Ball Z, it's aged okay. It's definitely okay, but if you go back to it, I mean, I've had to go back to it and try and get clips for some of our videos. Man, it's just not aged as well as I remembered it aging, right? So let's just say that. So I thought in this case we would choose something that's a little bit more new, something that's got the animations a lot crisper, and you could maybe make the argument for Naruto. The problem is if you have to go all the way back to Naruto, because it's very prevalent to what happens in Naruto Shippuden. And I'm not showing anybody Boruto. It's just not gonna happen. So I decided to choose one of the newcomers. So I was trying to think like maybe My Hero Academia. It could work. That's definitely one of them. I did want to bring that up as an honorable mention. It's got a lot of first off, the English dub is very good. The animation is crisp. There is a sense. It has a something that we all relate to, which is superheroes, right? Even if somebody comes in and they know Superman, right, they can kind of understand the idea of All Might, all those types of things. But the one I actually wanted to mention was Black Clover. So Black Clover, it has been said, is like the Naruto. It's like Naruto with magic, which I think is a little too simplistic to narrow down Black Clover only to that. But I will agree, it does have a lot of parallels to Naruto. It is a shonen anime, right? So it's targeted towards young boys, and it has a strong male lead that never gives up. So typical stuff. The reason why I didn't choose something like Fairy Tail is because Fairy Tail, it just doesn't explain any of the things that happens very well. A lot of times, Natsu just gets by with the power of friendship and and the fact that he never gives up. It's like, dude, I'm tired of this kind of stuff. Now, Fairy Tail, oh, sorry, Black Clover does have a little bit of that, but it's all explained to a certain degree. And you might think it's a little corny, the explanation, but it makes sense, man. It's never, even though even though it's prevalent, right? The idea is that in a magical world, in a world where everybody uses magic, there's one boy who's not blessed with magic, and he's actually blessed with anti-magic. It's great. So he is actually he's the weakness to anybody that he faces, but he still faces trials and tribulations. He still needs to learn how to control that power. He still needs to learn how to get himself in position to use it, all that kind of stuff. So it's a great journey. I think it's on episode 160 right now, and they're taking a little break until they go into the next part. But I think this is a good way to get people into the shonen anime because it does use a couple of the story tropes from other shonen anime, like we were talking about with Naruto. But it does have that sense of because in a lot of the shonen animes, there will typically be a male father figure to the main character. Typically, they find them in the sense of like a sensei or something like that. Sometimes it'll be through their actual father. But yeah, there's usually like a strong father figure in there because remember, shonen animes are supposed to be. Granted, if women love them, I've seen women that like them too, and that's wonderful. I like, please like them. I like shoujo anime. It's cool. We're all good here. But there's all it's really important for young boys to have like something to kind of look at and kind of model themselves after. And I think Asa is a great choice for that. He's a little loud. That can might turn some people off. But I think overall the humor, the action scenes, dude, there are some crisp animations in there that I was very surprised about. And overall, dude, I was just really pleased with Black Clover. I can't wait till it comes back. But you can check that out on Funimation in terms of the dubbed. If you want to check out the subbed, you can check out Verve. The Funimation does have the subbed as well. But yeah, the Verve has the subbed only. But yeah, overall, a great anime to get somebody into an epic anime. Another one might be Hunter x Hunter. I just have not seen it. So that's the only reason why I did not choose that one. But yeah, what do you guys think? Do you guys like my picks? Maybe there are some other ones out there, right? I'm not the end all be all on anime or anything like that. So let us know what you guys thought. Maybe there's some things you want to add to this list. You can email us at animecasuals with an S, real REAL at gmail.com. Also, if you'd like to check out all things casual, you can check it out at the link tree in the description box down below. But as always, guys, don't forget to keep it casual.